Hey,
Hi,
great to see you again,
good to
Sandra.
see you. How you doing?
Doing well, doing well, doing swell. Today's actually been a beautiful day out here.
Ah, tell me more.
Oh my goodness, the sun is shining, you know, the cat's out lurking, the birds out chirping. It's
Life
working.
is life is happening.
Everything is happening, everything everywhere all at once.
Everything every isn't there a documentary that's called this way or something? I heard about something like
That
that.
was a movie
A
actually. It was
movie.
in theaters.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did you did,
Yeah, I
did
heard
you
it
get
was
a chance to see it?
no,
Oh.
no. Is this about like the quantum reality? I think it was about that, right? Because I was reading up a little bit a while ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're living it anyway. Your life is a movie. So you're not missing out. But it was a fantastic film. It was spectacular. It was a spectacle. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Hmm.
And I believe reading also the perspective that although everything is happening all at once, right? It is like the beautiful reality. Doesn't mean that it doesn't matter. Doesn't mean that our actions don't matter. Our actions do matter,
Mm.
you
Wow.
know?
See, I knew you'd be on point with it, Sandra, because that was actually a theme that they underlined in the movie.
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
about does anything matter? You know.
Yeah. So why do you think our actions do matter? If everything is happening all at once, why do you think it does matter?
You know, it's interesting because isn't there isn't there a word called like nihilism, to be nihilistic? You ever heard of that word? Can you hear me?
My gratitude alarm went
Oh,
off.
oh, you make an alarm for
Of
gratitude?
course.
Of course she does. Intentional, you know.
Yeah, we forget, you know, we
Wow.
really forget to pause. So it's just a good moment to pause. So maybe have a moment of pause together and then go into nihilism.
Okay, yes, of course.
Ah,
Let's have that moment then. Since you set the alarm, there's no
yeah.
harm.
Yeah, so grateful. So grateful for you. So grateful for being alive to be able to have a deep conversation. So grateful for all the elements that are in my body and all around me. So grateful for the smile that's taking over my face right now. It's so big, my cheeks hurt. Grateful. I'm grateful for it now. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. So much gratitude,
Mhm.
that grateful attitude. I love that you cultivate that. I love that you're a caretaker of, your mind in that way. And I love
Mhm.
that you not find the time, but you make the time. You create the time to be intentionally grateful, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a practice, you know, and it's so beautiful because it's such a simple practice. It's such a simple practice.
Mhm.
And what it does is that it just tunes you into a new frequency. It just does something,
Mhm.
yeah, you can be grateful for other people. It's like
Mhm.
giving. It really is like giving, you know. It's like you give, and there's always, we think of when we do community service or something that is we're doing something, and so we're doing for them. It's the most selfish thing. Gratitude is
Mhm.
a selfish act. Practicing gratitude is a selfish act. It puts you in the receptivity of gratitude.
Mhm.
It's like an immediate feedback loop, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. It's the gift that keeps on giving. You
Yeah.
know, some
Mm.
would say even it's the secret to living. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Tell me about nihilism.
Well, before we get into nihilism, since we were already on gratitude, I would love to know, like, when did you give yourself that gift? Like, when did that practice
Yeah.
become a ritual in your life, like a staple?
Um, the first thing that came to my mind was like when I could no longer bear not loving myself.
Mm.
I think that it started by having deep devotion for self, of
Mhm.
like making it a fact, of paying attention, close attention to what is ideal already in my life.
Mhm.
paying attention to like the details, you know, not always looking at like the vision, which is great to have vision and it's great to want. And unless we are rooted in being, this desire to become, to be more, can really feel like anxiety and like you're not enough. So to me, it started by falling in love with like how I am right now, in the way that I'm growing, in the way that I'm being, in the way that I'm learning, in the way that I am perfectly in this moment held. So gratitude came to me as a perhaps a side effect, as a natural side effect of paying more attention to the beauty that already is, you know.
Yes. Yes. Wow. A side effect. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Like almost like a symptom, like it was something that was naturally occurring. You know, I love the way that you put with your words and describe it, because, you know, I feel definitely the same, that there were so many times in life I didn't know where I was heading, but when I was grateful for where I was, you know,
Mhm.
I think I headed somewhere different than I would have if I had not been. Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nowadays, I find myself in chaos a lot. You
Mm,
know, I find myself in deep, I just don't know what's
mm,
next. And
mm,
I think that a lot of that comes with when you're creating consciously, which is my focus, when you're daring to go after what you want, you find yourself in big experiences of like not knowing what's on the other side.
mm.
And so learning to be grateful for the chaos has been a beautiful like gift to self. You know, I'm grateful because I just don't know where the F I'm going.
Mhm.
I'm grateful because I'm grateful for like that feeling of like, it's like the precipice, it's like it's moving very fast, and I'm grateful for that because I know that's the experience that we go to Six Flags and we pay for, the experience of being fully alive. I'm grateful for like the mystery of it all. I'm grateful that I can understand that the mystery is the truth of who I am. I have no
Mm.
idea.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You know, it's constantly unfolding.
Yeah,
You know, we have no.
100%.
Yeah. When
Yeah,
when you say grateful for the chaos, you
yeah.
know, being able to, you know, make the best out of the seemingly worst situations, would you say, Sandra, that that's kind of going hand in hand with like wild woman alchemy, you
A
know?
100%. Yeah, yeah, 100%. And it's something that I like to pass on, right? Because there is an ecstasy to letting go into the unknown,
Mm,
right? And there's an ecstasy to falling deep in love with the only truth that is, which is you don't know.
mm,
The only thing that you can be certain of is that you don't know. you know? Like there's no safety, there's no security. There's only wisdom, understanding, and presence, like right here. Like,
mm,
are you willing to live fully in the mystery that is paying really close attention? Like this is the only moment that is promised to me is this next breath. And so if I can befriend, the mystery, if I can befriend the chaos, there's an ecstasy to that. I'm held in it. There's the reality, the fact that everything is a continuous change, nothing is ever staying the same. And if I can actually, instead of resisting it, dance with it and learn to dance with it and actually learn to feel that chaos is also like love making, like chaos is like getting lost in the isness of it all. you know it could be that when the mind is not leading and I can actually allow myself to have the experience of what is,
yes.
instead of trying to conceive of like what I think should be happening or what I think is happening, and instead just have the experience of what is happening,
Yes. Yes.
and then allow the mind to follow the experience but not to lead it. And so we let the mind follow the experience so that it can help us communicate it and gain some knowledge. Does
Yes.
that make any sense?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. You know, and I'd also love to touch on something that you pointed out when you talked about that feeling of like not enoughness,
Yeah.
you know,
It's
because
a
I
real
feel,
thing.
go
It's a
ahead.
real thing. It's like a real thing. I two of my clients today, we're dealing with that. I think most of my conversations with my clients is like that's a very true feeling as a human being, you know, not feeling enough, not feeling like, and so there could be a little dance there too of chaos that we can learn to do, right? Tell me a little, did you have another question or
Yeah, because it reminds me of one of your reels. You know, you always keep it real with these reels that you put on
same
here,
brother?
you know?
I was excited to talk to you for the same reason. You gotta keep it real in the reels.
Yes, yes, you know, and all your reels, they give all the feels, you
Yeah.
know? And I just enjoy what you give with being in service, because you said something about there is no way to win worthiness. You
Mhm.
know, the whole idea of like worthiness winning, feeling like we're not enough and that
Mhm.
we need to do something to be enough.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, we want to, you know, and it's like so tempting to want to put it on or fit in or have the, you know, have a, you know, look like we are there. And like the truth is there's nothing to do. You are simply, you are water, you are earth, you are air, you are fire, you are the element, you are life. Of course you, I mean, it almost feels like, you know, like, of course your life, you know, like if you think about the incredible detail that is necessary to build a human, you know, your life, you know, to it's you are, you exist. Of course you are worthy. And that doesn't mean that you should stop going after what you love. Doesn't mean that you should stop like really putting your best foot forward and taking action and grounding yourself in your beingness. It doesn't mean that you give up. That knowing doesn't mean that you just kind of like, fuck it, I'm worth it. It means you engage it more fully. It means like that feeling of wanting to be more does not can be taken in the perception of I am not enough, and it can also be experienced as I am evolution. Evolution is moving through me, and evolution is yearning for closer contact, for movement, for expansion. That is God. God is moving through us. God is always expanding and growing, you know, and that word could be a little triggering to a lot of people. So you can call it, you know, existence, life. Life is moving through you. Love is moving through you. And love is always seeking deeper contact and you know, closeness and more. And so when we start to think about that, like actually my desiring, my wanting more is a healthy expression that I'm alive. You know? So
Yeah.
wanting more has nothing to do with whether I'm worthy or not. It is simply a proof that I am also a part of existence that is always seeking growth and evolution.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, constantly expanding, constantly growing, constantly flowing. You know, when you talked about being earth, you know, being wind, being water, being fire, these elementals, the elements, I called this, you know, this session that we have here together, Sacred Space with Sandra,
Yeah.
because I realized when I saw something on your story that you also intentionally you have sacred space where you give honor, you give reverence to the elements. Am I correct?
Yeah. I mean, it's always, you know, it's so delicious. You know, it's so delicious to remember the details.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No, 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 I'm all ears.
Yeah.
So
So
you go.
so where was that, you know, why do you feel like more people don't have that sense of reverence when it comes to the elements, you know, the things that make up all that is? And where
Yeah.
did you feel like it gave you more when you gave that attention towards these things?
It's just the word that you said is attention.
Okay.
You know, I really feel like the price of delight is paying attention. The price of living in gusto in is paying attention, because you can be, you know, this week I found out that one of my aunt Sandra, who raised me, who I'm named after, right? she had cancer. She was diagnosed with cancer, and it was very hard, you know, for like all of us, because she's the healthiest, most vibrant human. She's taking it in great spirits, and you know, it's not the end of it all. Like we're starting a journey. We have no idea what's happening, and we can very easily go into the you know, like worst case scenario. Everybody. And we can also start to pay attention, like, oh, this is bringing us all together. This is putting us all in the weird, you're not alone. This is, you know, we can start to literally give it our closeness to the details so that each moment becomes more sacred because we're there in it. So it starts with paying attention. And for me, it's really the whole paying attention thing came from, you know, starting to prioritize silence and starting to prioritize my inner experience and starting to be able to craft moments of mind break so that I can quiet it, all that's happening outside, all the distractions, and start to listen. What is it that I want? What is it that sounds true to me? You know, what is moving me with excitement? Those are the little, you know, I call them the breadcrumbs that our soul is leaving for us to, like, you know, develop. Those are our seeds. And when we develop that practice of like coming into our sacred space, you know, and our sacred space doesn't necessarily mean silence for everybody. For some people, it might mean walking, you know, in nature. And for some other people, it might be their music. But moving into a place of no thought is so important for us to be able to hear and pay attention.
Yes. Yes. You know, when I hear you talk about the self, you know, and giving honor to the self, giving attention to the self, you're one of the people, well, one of the only people I know, you capitalize that letter S. You know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
where people are looking for themselves or finding for themselves, you talk about the self. So
Yeah.
where do you define or find your own definition of what the self is?
Yeah. Thank you for that. What a beautiful question. And so the self, we have two selves, right? And so for people that don't know me, I do psycho-spiritual alignment coaching. I, you know, have had so much studies and trainings where it comes to, you know, the philosophy of the East, science of the West, and has been like what I've been eating, and also alchemy and, like, you know, like the third space where they meet. But mostly it's my own inner experience, you know, like what I pass on to people is my inner experience, that there is a part of me that is a personality. And so that is the small self, right? That is my self, that is very important, it's sacred. You know, people think that the ego could also be is a bad thing, or like, oh, you know, she's got ego. Of course I have an ego. If not, how will I be in the world? Yet my higher self, right, my capital S self, is the part of me that knows what's best for me, is the part of me that's connected to divine qualities, is the part of me that has the ability to represent life because it remembers. The self, when I sit with myself with a capital S, I sit with the part of me that is beyond this body, that is beyond this personality. It's the calling forth of the part of me that can use Sandra as the vehicle to do what I'm here to do as a soul and a body.
Yes, beautiful
Yeah.
explanation, you know, beautiful breakdown. And just thank you for illustrating that, you know, the part of you that is orchestrating, the part of you that we're also working in tandem with. And when it comes to finding your soul's purpose, because I see that you're helping people get over those limiting beliefs or integrate the limiting beliefs, but also discovering their soul's purpose. How does the two go hand in hand? And what do you feel like was one of the most challenging limiting beliefs that you had to overcome to be able to do that?
Yeah. I'm not good enough for sure. I'm not ready enough. I'm not good enough for sure. And the other face of it, I'm too much. You know, like I'm too much. It was also those were the big things that I struggled with and still come up. You know, they don't go away. You just learn to work with them. So those have been the main themes of my life, which is so beautiful because those themes in our lives, when we recognize them, can be the path ahead of how we can be here to serve, you know. And so essentially I work with people to integrate their personalities, to integrate the lower S self, so that from that place of knowing, like, what are my, you know, my blind spots, what are my shadows, essentially. I call them sub-personalities in my work. And we think so much that our shadows are bad or negative, when essentially our shadows are holding our greatness, our potential for greatness. That we have expressions that are in a shadow, you know, we have shadowy expressions that we put out there, behaviors that are not integrated because we're not paying attention, we're not listening to those unintegrated parts of our psyche that need attention, so that when we are in collaboration with them, then from that place, they can serve as allies on our journey. So we do integration work, is what I do. When you're integrated in the center of self and you cultivate that, it is a natural process that you can really hear the qualities, the things that your higher self is leaving for you. Your intuition expands, your ability to feel more expands, not only, you know, the great things, but to feel more, to feel life more, which comes with a lot of responsibility, you know. And responsibility, many of us resist. And I feel like, you know, I have an inclination that perhaps most of us resist the responsibility of integrating our personality because we have an idea that responsibility is to do more. And it is, in a way it is. Yet responsibility is also freedom.
Okay.
To choose, to be who I am, to express myself fully, to be in the pleasure of full expression and authenticity. And it's the ability to respond to higher self, to capital S self, you know?
Yes, yes. I love that you said that. That responsibility is the ability to respond.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is amazing, you know, because it's like Uncle Ben told, you know, Peter Parker, you know, Spider-Man, he's like, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to be able to embrace that and to face that, you know, and to not try to erase that. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So both are important, right? You can't, it's very hard. And many of us have this experiences of peak experiences, right? We go on a quest. We have an experience of our soul. We do plant medicine, we do psychedelics, and we have an experience of our soul. We go through a sound journey, and all of a sudden we have like an experience of like togetherness, and like, oh my God, we're not separated. Like we have an experience, a soulful experience where our mind, our body, our breath are all in one place, and we feel rooted and connected. And yet integration is the most important thing, because unless our personality is integrated and we have a hold on it, we're going to go back to the same old patterns. It takes work. It takes work. It takes attention. It takes the attention to be in the delight of having a soulful, soul-filled life. I say that we integrate the personality so that we can have our soul infused through it, you know?
Yeah.
So we can have a soul infused life in everything we're doing, because I can hear it.
Soul infused, you know, so charged, so full, you know,
Yeah.
so full.
Yeah, so cool. It's so good.
Yes. You actually brought something to my mind, Sandra, when you talked about one of your most challenging limiting beliefs as feeling that not enough, you know, the not, and then on the opposite spectrum, you said the too much, you know, being too much. So it reminded me of, you ever heard the thing, it was like, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, but that often our deepest fear might be that we are powerful beyond measure.
Beyond measure. Yeah. It's something that I take people through a lot, right? We do some of the exercise we do is like, let's face like the fear of success. Let's face it. Like, let's actually speak about that. And so many of us are afraid of having more to hold, of having more responsibility, of feeling overwhelmed already, of like, having to show up, having to be seen. One of my clients, Mel, said yesterday, well, if I do it and I go for it, and I had her through this visualization, she was like, they will throw rocks at me. They will throw rocks at me. And it was so beautiful because that is not like, our mind is picking up on collective patterns that are not only ours, they're collective from the field of what has happened to people, to women, to in the history, for being true, for being, for speaking up. That does not mean that is actual truth of what's happening now. And yet we have to pay attention and explore our fear of success, explore it deeply, because so much of that stuff, if we keep it in the unconscious and we don't bring it up to our conscious mind, it will really feel like it's true. It would feel like, actually, like, somebody's gonna tie me up to a tree and beat me up because I'm expressing myself, and it could feel like that is a true thing, while it's not an actual possibility.
Right, right, right. So the fear of success, facing that fear of success, because in another one of your reels, as Sandra does, you were talking about how, why not grow the size of who you are, so that you can be able to handle more instead of trying to shun more responsibility. Why not grow yourself so you can handle more responsibility?
Yeah, so that you grow the size of the container that you are, so that things that come into the container are tiny little things, right? And a lot of that takes, like, that's the experience of being able to flow, right? When you grow more, and it takes work. It takes work to learn systems, right? It takes work. As you're running a business, it takes work to run an active campaign and to do all the calendar and the payments and the thing. And the more that you desire growth, the more that you do. And those things now, because you've been doing them consistently, become small. The second nature, you systematize, you get better at it. You hire people, you find support, you ask for what you need. You get better at supporting yourself from doing the work in the beginning. And so many of us stop at the work in the beginning. It feels like too much. And so the invitation is like, keep at it, keep at it, because it becomes second nature. We didn't wake up walking,
So it's almost like, it's not that it got easier, but you got better. It's not like it got smaller, but you got bigger.
Yeah. You get bigger. That's the beauty of it, right? You can get bigger. You can not only expand your reach in all ways, like in your relationship and how much you take care of your home and how much you take care of your business, but you get better. You can get bigger by simply connecting with more support, by remembering just that, by becoming part of the member, that you're not here alone, that you do so much more with support, whether that is a system on a computer that is supporting you, or whether that is the people in your life. But you get better by just taking those first steps and continuing to do it, and moving through that hurdle that in the beginning, wanting to put the towel down, which happens, which I think it's safe to say that it happens to all of us when we're growing, right? I'm sure when you're creating this podcast, like, there were so many things in the beginning. Now you just, now you're just like, okay, I got my next button. You got yourself in a flow. I know who I want to speak to. I'm excited to see them. Great. I know how to put this up on the video and on the podcast. And in the beginning, it was just like, oh, you got to move through that. That's how you grow the size of you.
Yes, we moved through it. We grew through it. It's like, what did Bruce Lee? Bruce Lee said, do not pray for the easy life. He said, pray for the strength to endure the difficult. To endure the hard one. Instead, pray for the capability to be able to rise above it. And I think
I love that. I love that. I think it was Stephen Kotler who was, I was listening to something, and he was saying that one of his mentors used to say that he wishes that everyone that you know, participates in his life, and all the people that he loves the most and the people that he cares for the most, that they have horribly challenging lives, that they have exquisitely tough existence, because that's how they will really grow, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what's best for them, and that he wishes, you know, for his children, that it gets tough,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and that they're in the presence of being, right? And so bringing them back to like the presence of paying attention, that things can be really tough, and you can always find your feet on the floor and find your breath and say like,
Yes.
yeah, you know, let me maybe go outside and smell the flowers for a second, and then come back and keep at it.
Yes. 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 You know, like it's been said, you know, smooth seas aren't going to make a skilled sailor. You know, you have to come up against some adversity, some opposition,
Mm.
as it were, to be able to be in a new position. And when you're talking about mentors, Sandra, if you can recall, was there a mentor in your life that helped you navigate, you know, those torrential storms, or, you know, helped you set your sail in a way that allowed you to go and glide in your own graceful way? What was there a mentor in your life that really instructed you in that way?
No, there
No?
were many.
Oh, okay. Okay, it wasn't just one, she said. It was
No, there
several.
were many. I still have mentors. I continue to coach myself. I continue to work with people that are my mentors.
Yeah.
I continue to work for people that are my mentors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that the person that perhaps is unaware that he was such a great mentor to me was um, my teacher Scott. He was my voice teacher when I was an actor, and his interest, as I was working towards, I have too much of an accent, right? Was and he was not interested at all in working on my accent. He was interested in teaching me how to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And so the work that, and at this time, you know, this was like 13 years ago now. And at this time, I was eating up Eastern philosophy and eating up the sutras and teaching myself all this, you know, uh, out there stuff and meditations. And my practice was deep, and I was deep in it. At the same time, I started to train with him and to learn to breathe, to learn to be, to the, you know, and doing all these exercises with my feet on the wall and twisting from side to side and having these discussions in his office of like all the things that were arising in me that I could not lie to myself about, simply because I was learning to be, to breathe, to sit in silence and to breathe deeply, to expand my capacity of my diaphragm, to isolate different parts of my diaphragm and feel. And so many times of like of deep cries, you know, of being of feeling things that I blocked, and feeling many things that I had no idea where the feelings were coming from. And it's still, you know, and it still is that, like the mentors in your life are the ones that are guiding you to yourself, not the ones that are preaching to you. Those are the people that you should, you know, honor and really stick by and celebrate their growth, because they're also just growing, or the people that are giving you tools so you can find your own experience of being fully alive in the now. So many of my yogic teachers, you know, Naveen Mitcham, um, I mean, there's so many, you know, Katona Yoga has been great of like finding my own, giving me the tools to find the vehicle of where I am now and what am I willing to do about it.
Yeah.
So the responsibility is never on the mentor. A good mentor is giving you, you know, all the responsibility, which is really what I hope that I'm doing with the people that I work with.
Yes. Yes. So that's the difference between, you know, power, as they say, you know, if leadership is power, true leadership is empowerment. You,
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
okay.
You know, it's like I'm excited to get rid of people. You know, it's like I always go through this, like, oh gosh, I'm gonna miss them, and I'm gonna miss them as a client too. You know, because it's, and I'm so happy to see them go. You know, it's how they say, like a good doctor wants to get rid of its patients. That's how I think about it. You know, hopefully, like I want to give people what I know, and then like see them grow and see them in their potential. Like, you know, it's bittersweet whenever people finish my programs. And I do, and I will always be in, and what's happening so much, so beautifully now is that they become family, and we stay integrated, and we're in their life. I'm like, cheerleader on forever, because like I saw that so it's such a vulnerable thing to myself, such a gift to sit with somebody as they're exploring their blockages and their potential, and seeing them move towards their greatness with the hurdles of how hard it is to show up for yourself, even if it's a decision of taking 5 minutes for self. The resistance that has been built up for a lifetime, it's real. And seeing somebody take those small simple steps that create grand, like huge expansion in their life, because they do it on a consistent basis, it's such a gift and a validation to my life, to my work, to what I'm doing, because it's that you give somebody the tools, and then I want, like, I've been given a torch of like, go and fly, and I want to pass it down.
Yeah, yeah. And as a teacher, as a mentor, and as an instructor, what do you feel you enjoy most of all? Like, what do you find most gratifying and satisfying by seeing somebody go through that process, take those steps?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, it's so much that I enjoy. But I think that, what's arising in me right now, it's like what I enjoy the most, this is gonna sound so bad. What I enjoy the most is being with people when they give themselves the opportunity to feel it fully. Whether that is their joy, whether that is their chaos, whether that is their sorrow. To see somebody fully unmask and be in their truth of humanity, and at the same time have that experience of there's more. I'm more than this moment. I'm more than this. But to really unmask in front of me, which is like, yeah, it's in front of me, but it's in front of another human, and so when we unmask, when somebody unmasks in front of you, whether it's a baby, and he's born and he's just like, I want this, or or when there is an artist fully in their music, fully in their dance, fully in their prayer, when there is a client having a truthful experience, your lover really telling you how they feel, when there's a moment of somebody unmasking in front of you, something in you gets to see self, soul at a deeper level. That it's the experience of being fully alive, fully here. And I feel that there's nothing more beautiful than seeing someone unmask.
Yes, yes. When you're able to have that opportunity to see somebody in their full beingness of that vulnerability, to see them unmask in that way in front of you, where do you feel like you see yourself in them? Like,
A
you
hundred
see,
percent.
okay.
This is me when I'm working. It's almost like that. It's almost like I should start sending checks out to my clients, because I'm there taking notes. Like, wow. I mean, I feel like most of what I do in my work is just like I'm a wisdom catcher, because they're just saying, like, when you're in that space of allowing yourself to really be, and you drop all the what I think should be happening, or the ideas of the mind, and just drop into the experience, you immediately open to a fountain of knowledge and wisdom that has been in your heart, like it has been shielded, and all of a sudden you open it. And so I'm taking notes to say back to them, and it just stays with me, and how does this apply with me?
Yeah.
So essentially I'm just like sharing it back. This is what you said, this is what you said, and also like this is how I learned. Like, wow,
Yeah.
that was beautiful.
Yeah.
That was so beautiful.
And you're right, Sandra. You are a wisdom catcher. We've had several conversations, well, a few conversations like this where we've both said things to each other, and you've been like, "Oh, I need to write that down," and you'll
Yeah.
literally take a notebook and like write it down in the moment. You're like, "This is a great idea." We need to use this
Yeah.
to be even
Yeah.
more in service to help somebody with this message.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of like being a student, you know, like
Mhm.
always allowing yourself to be a student first,
Mhm.
to learn from everyone and anything and all that is. You know, there's always a lesson. There is never a time wasted. If something really bad happens to you, if an investment goes wrong of your time, of your money, you're still gaining if you're willing to be a student.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so with that, it's just like, you know, you pay close attention. You hold something in your consciousness that you gained from whatever connection, and you chew on it, right? You make it yours. You think about it. You do some contemplation on it. You put your own words in it. You match it to your own experience, and now it becomes your wisdom. It becomes your knowledge that you can pass on naturally when the moment arises. You can just, you know, pass that on.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I completely agree. You know, I always have resonated with the master is the master because they're always a student.
Mm.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
the whole life is a university. You know,
Yeah.
it's like we we're always learning. We're always class is always in session.
Class is always in session.
Yeah.
You know, pay attention. We go back to the beginning of it all, right?
Yeah.
And paying attention is everything, because becoming, that idea of desiring to be more, that can make us feel like we're not good enough, we're not ready enough, we're too much, right? That idea of becoming is held in the context of being.
Mm.
Unless you in being, in attention, in full presence, in like the eyes of a child, you know,
Yeah.
that feeling of wanting to expand can feel like anxiety,
Mhm.
devastating.
Yeah. 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 You know, having those eyes of a child, also just having that childlike curiosity and the ability to ask questions, because I think that's one of the wisest things that you can
Mm-hmm.
do if you're growing, you're expanding and you're wanting to learn. With class always being in session, I one of the things I really enjoy about you, Sandra, they just unrolled this new note thing here on Instagram, and you know, you see all these notes at the top of your messages in the DMs,
Mm-hmm.
and you're one of the only people, actually I think you're the only person I have that's asking questions. Everyone else is, you know, they're giving quotes, they're saying comments, they're talking about how they feel, what's about that. You're asking questions.
Mm.
You know, you're like what is your favorite expression of love? You know, what is delicious today? You know, what is something you're asking people things, and I'm like, wow,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Selfishly, the most enjoyable expression of love for me is to be seen,
Mm.
you know. So I feel like it's so easy to give that. Get present with people. Like, give that love. It feels so good when you really see people, you know, especially when you're centered in yourself, when you're centered in your beingness, when you remember that you're more than this person, this age, this gender.
Mhm.
If you're centered in that, and you approach people with that essence of, you know, yeah, I'm both the nature and spirit, and you can see them. It's no longer you, the personality, seeing them. It's you as, you know, I see you. You know, I see you, meaning that we can serve as the eyes of divinity, looking at the world as the eyes of that, you know. So it's nice to lead with curiosity. Like, let me find out about you.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know?
It does. It feels great to be seen. It feels great to be heard. And shout out to Scott, you know, the mentor you were describing, who
Yeah,
was able to see you in that way, was able
yeah.
to interact and engage with you on a cellular level, you
Oh,
know.
cellular level. What a great word. Such a good word. Yeah.
She's like, let me write that down. Let me...
I won't forget that in my memory. Like, it's cellular level.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Scott was great. Scott was the first person that I was able to 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 share my story in my own words, because I had been sharing my story in theater through the words of different characters. you know. So I was drawn to expressing myself through the characters that had similar life experiences than me. And so I would share my life, I would share my truth, fully live it, relive it, to a point that sometimes it was a little bit like masochism, right? Because it was like a lot of my wounds, a lot of that. And Scott was the first person that I was able to share it, to share my you know, in my voice, in as myself, tell my truth. And it was so beautiful to find somebody that you can feel, that can really see you, because they're centered in them. You know, they're so rooted that they can actually be a pillar without projections to you, without putting their self on you or their ideas on you, and they could just simply get curious with you, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Wow. You know, when it comes to having those pillars, because you have these practices that allow you to be centered, that allow you to be more aligned, that allow you to express the divine in different ways that are even disciplined, you know?
Yeah.
And one of those, of course, you already know is yoga.
Mhm.
So when it comes to being your own support system, to supporting your body in these ways that are like, I've seen you in poses, Sandra, in positions where it's like you're defying the laws of gravity. You know, it's like gravity is coming down, but you're like, you know, you're completely sideways. So how has that discipline with your body, what has that done for your mind?
Yeah, it's everything. I mean, the body, first I want to just speak about the word discipline, you know, because I always had like as a somebody that I like to identify with the idea of a free spirit for most of my time. You know, I'm a free spirit. You start to realize that discipline can feel, for a person that doesn't really know what it really means, like, ugh, I want to do it, right? Like there's a collective, you know, negativity to the word discipline. Discipline from comes from the root word disciple, as disciple from of Jesus Christ, disciples of Joshua. So it really means to be a follower of that which you love, to be a follower of that which you love. So if you're forcing yourself to have discipline, to show up and do things for the thing, for other people's desires, or for what the world thinks that you should be doing, or perhaps even for yoga because now it's an in thing, like maybe it's just not, you know, it's too like, find a way that feels true. Discipline for me is easy, you know, because I do what I love. I follow what turns me on as a spirit, as a soul, as a human. And the discipline with my body of being able to show up for it to the minimum. And I don't have my long yoga practice every single day. I move my body every day. Sometimes that discipline to move my body is to lay on my bolsters, you know, move my joints, that to go for a walk.
Yeah.
The work of being in your body is the work of respecting beingness, of grounding yourself, of allowing yourself to recognize that you are earth, that you are essentially an expression, a tree with feet. You know, you really are. Everything that your body is an accumulation of all the food that you are eating. You are a part of earth. And if we want to be grounded and connected, there's an opportunity there to prioritize dropping into isness, dropping into the being experience, the delight of being fully alive, which is why the soul decided to come here, to have an experience of having senses, to have the experience of smelling, of touching, of feeling, of exploration, of not knowing. And all of that happens in the body, of falling in love, of ecstasy, of hurt, of pain. And unless we have a good relationship with our body, the mind is going to lead the game. And when the mind is leading, we're not really here, because the mind is in the future. My body is in the present. So, so the work of coming into the physical practice, it's a very important thing for me, because it allows my mind to take a break.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Simply put, you know, I love it. I love it. It was so interesting for me to hear you say that our soul has come here to have the experience of not knowing.
Yeah. Yeah, and also to like have experience, right? Our soul
Right.
didn't come here to have good or bad experience. It came here for experience.
Itself.
And some of us are resisting like the darker parts of life,
Mm,
but
mm,
not knowing that our soul is actually here for that too. And so we
mm.
avoid it and we resist it and we do all the things to try to figure out why and all the reasons why and why did that be here and why instead of just saying like let me just have the
Mm,
experience
mm,
so
mm,
that
mm.
it doesn't stay for years, but that
Yeah.
I can just have it fully, have the experience and let it move through me and give my soul the pleasure of knowing more of itself, more and more of life
Yeah.
through me.
Yes. It's pleasurable. When you talk about the darker sides, the darker aspects, Sandra, what is one of the darker aspects of yourself or the darker sides that you enjoy or maybe even use to transmute and transform as a part of kind of like a wild woman alchemy? Like how do you alchemize that darker aspect of yourself so it doesn't bring you down but it actually
Yeah.
lifts you up?
Well, first I like to say that we have given darkness such a bad name
Mm-hmm.
and it's so messed up. Like all of a sudden everything good is like if you keep your eyes open and you're looking at outside, is everything rosy and like unicorns and rainbows? And when you close your eyes, is everything terrible and like painful and massacre inside? No. So, our darkness is a womb of creation. And we don't think about that. The darkness is related to the unconscious. Our darkness is a place where things get planted, seeded, so that they arise. And so when we have a good relationship with the darkness of knowing that it's just the mystery, it's just a mystery zone in there, and I can influence the mystery zone by fueling my life with the things that I want to plant the seeds of in my unconscious again and again and again, meaning what are the people that I'm hanging out with, the books, my environment, the food that I'm putting in my system, the people that I'm following on Instagram, everything, all of that is becoming part of the mystery of the darkness where I plant the roots of my life, the seeds of my life. That is the darkness. We are not victims of our darkness. We can also engage it and influence it, right? The darkness, a lot of the anger that can be seen as as darkness, as the violence that can be seen as darkness. That are those just expressions of unintegrated parts of us. But the darkness is like holy darkness. I love, and this might sound triggering to some people, but I love the darkness.
Yeah.
I love being in silence. I love closing my eyes and being able to see more by limiting the distractions. I love going inside.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps those things that we call dark, like anger, like jealousy, like um, um, I don't know, like sorrow. Maybe they're actually the healthy first expressions that we should have when bad things happen to us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in indulging in all of that, right? That's a different thing. Indulging in the anger and having it as an identity of who I am. I'm angry, we say. Instead of saying, I have anger right now. We identify with it. We say, I'm angry. And now all of a sudden, that's something that you took on, right? Is you put on a costume of anger and you decided to live by that. But anger is sacred. Our shame, even having shame, that could be, indulged in. And I'm very familiar with that of like putting on the thing of shame and not thinking there's something wrong innately with who I am. But actually having a moment of shame might not be that bad from time to time. If you're out of alignment, right? And if you're doing something that's out of integrity with your values, it's important to have shame be present and like, ooh, get you back into like, that doesn't feel good. Let me come back to center.
Mm-hmm.
Having sorrow because somebody passed and perhaps that could be seen as bad. It's actually a way that my soul is cleansing itself. So we are not just light, we are all of it. We are creation. And creation, evolution, is seeking constant construction and destruction. And we are that too, for the sake of evolution. So there is a part of me that is looking to break things down, and there's a part of me that's looking to create. And when we disown our darkness as something bad, something out there that we don't want to see, we're disowning like half of us. And instead of saying like, actually, my darkness is important, I need to honor that. And I need to have a good relationship with it so that in my moments of darkness, I can be a student. I can allow myself to still be in integrity. I can still have my center and be balanced. I can honor that these moments are also important for my life and not resist them. They're my teachers too.
Yes. Yes. Wonderful teachers. Oh man, this is every time you speak. Like, first of all, there's so much passion. Like, you have so much passion in your voice when you speak. I know that you understand, like, your energy frequency that you put out is vibrant. You know that there's a vitality that goes along with it. And I'm sure that your practices, that's part of it. But also when you're talking about, I love the darkness. I love it. That's the womb of creation is darkness.
Yeah.
This,
There's a holy darkness too, when you stop fearing the darkness and you allow yourself to be in the holy darkness, meaning that it's so luminous in there, that all the distractions are gone, that you can see more in the holy of it, like there's a holy darkness too. And if we start to actually appreciate that the darkness is like those moments of chaos that I was telling you about in the beginning, right? Coming back full circle. Like in those moments of chaos, there's holy darkness too, because if I could just allow myself to be in the mystery of it, which is all that is true, all that I can be certain of, that it's all a mystery, and actually make love to it. Like, I don't know what's happening, but let me just be fully with you. Let me see you fully. Let me experience you fully with the deep trust that I am part of life. I am not just a little, I am part of it, and that there's always evolution that wants to move through me. Resistance creates problems. Resistance, holding on to something that was, or not allowing something new to come in. It's where our suffering really, happens.
right, right. It's like, yeah, whatever we resist persists,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people, who said this? This is not some people. Carl Jung. Carl Jung said that whatever you persist, not only that whatever you resist not only persists, but also grows in size.
Okay. Okay.
You know?
Yeah. So when it comes to, and this would be the last thing that I would love to hear from you, because I saw you post this, Sandra, and when I saw this, I was like, ooh, that's spicy. Like, she put her little spice on there. So we're talking about going hand in hand with loving the darkness, and enjoying the juiciness of that on your journey. You said how some people have like dangerous divinity. When we hear these words divine and then we hear the word dangerous, how do you feel like those two go hand in hand and harmonize?
Yeah. I think it goes back to the fear of our power.
Okay. Okay.
Dangerous divinity. I feel like anything that is unknown, that it's a mystery, that you don't know, that there's no path ahead, is dangerous. I feel like if you are creating consciously, you are actively putting yourself in situation where it's almost like you're seeking challenges. You're seeking danger, essentially, because there's nobody has did it before you. And so divinity comes in as a way of like being the lighthouse, and meaning like I can have moments of mystery, I can have moments of chaos, and divinity still shows up to help me align. What are the values that I'm here to embody? What are the qualities that I admire in humanity that I'm willing to express consciously, not by accident, but that I make a statement. This is what I'm choosing to be. This is, so that in moments of danger, of my dangerous nature, which wants to explore and grow, and wants to move towards the uncertainty of being more, I can still have my divine qualities, right? I can still have my line of purpose, my center as the guiding lighthouse where I'm moving towards. In the darkness, there's still that lighthouse, right? Of being able to channel that beauty, which is what I see and what gives life.
Yeah.
The spring from the winter, you know, the spring that arises from the darkness of winter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You know, thank you for being that guiding light,
Ah.
that lighthouse. Seriously, like the beacon, you know, allowing others to be able to, you know, to break through the barriers of their own belief, you know, to experience a new realm of reality in the mind and in their own experience, you know, and being the teacher that is not, you know, telling you what to do, but showing you how to find something within yourself, you know, the big S, the capital S. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you know how they say, brother, that we are, you know, it's not the universe out there, it's the you inverse. So thank you for seeing me.
Yeah.
Thank you for seeing yourself in me
Mm-hmm.
and for inviting me to have this beautiful conversation again, right? Life is all about, it's just a bunch of meaningful conversations if we choose to pay attention.
I agree.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You know, blessings, you know,
Blessings
just like
to
this,
you.
this is all about, you know, that evolution, and this is the revolution, you know, of ourselves. So if this is their first time seeing you and just witnessing you, Sandra, would you just let people know, you know, where they can find your services and what you have for people? Where would you like them to go to
Yeah,
receive that?
sure. You can go to sandratru.com. So it's sandratru.com. You can also follow me here, Sandra True underscore at Instagram. And also, I'm doing a workshop. It's called Divine Alchemy and Conscious Creation on January 3rd and January 10th, when we will be exploring our story and integrating our story so that we can use it as nourishment for our conscious creation for the year ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be really beautiful and powerful, and it's just about taking full power. That our
Mm-hmm.
story does not define our future, and that our story, when integrated, can be actually just like the stories of me not being good enough. And what I'm doing now is sharing with people like you just are. You know, it's not about being good enough. Like you just are, so
Mm-hmm.
that our story can actually be the path, like the theme for the path ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is January 3rd and January 10th. And just stay like, you know, connected. I do a lot of conscious events here in Miami, um, alternative, non-alcoholic, fun experiences where we explore consciousness and the personality, and, you know, we dance and we have a lot of fun. And yeah, just say hi. I'd love to stay connected.
Beautiful, beautiful. So once again, that's January 3rd, January 10th. That's the Divine Alchemy Workshop.
Yeah. And that's online. So, you know, you can do it from wherever you are. I have not done an online workshop in years. And because I've been doing so much in person, I thought this would be fun, you know, to start the year with intention and decision from truth. You
Yes.
know, so many of us have this like general goals of like the things we want to say, but like really what's true to you?
Yeah.
What do you want to do, you know, at the core?
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, y'all definitely go take advantage of the opportunity here. Follow Sandra. Find what's true for you. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
much love to you. Flowers on your path, brother.
All right. Right. Take care. Love.
Bye.